Episode 82 of the Hook Podcast. Braley Jones, Kevin Kistner. Hello, Kev. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's beautiful outside. I don't know how it is in Nashville. I'm going to find out here in a second, but it is 73 degrees, but we're supposed to get 10 inches of snow tomorrow.
Only in Colorado. Only in Colorado can you golf and then have to go snowboarding the next day.
True. Very, very true. Today is going to be really, really fun. You know, last week we put out our 2024 Artists to Watch, and this lovely lady was on our Artists to Watch, and we've been massive, massive fans. I have to give my wife credit because she might be Robyn's biggest fan. She's sitting out in the living room listening to us. So she's the one who brought her music to me, and we can't stop listening to everything you put out. So welcome, Robyn Ottolini, to the podcast. How are you?
I am delightful. How are you?
We are good. How is the weather in Nashville right now?
It was sunny today. I'm Canadian, so it was 10 degrees Celsius, which is way better than it was a couple weeks ago when it was snowing. So no complaints here.
But you had to have loved the snow. You're probably one of the few people who knows in town how to get out in the snow, how to drive. You can actually do things, because I feel like Nashville, everybody freaks out when it's snowing.
Everyone freaks out. There's ice everywhere. I have my winter tires, so I was not scared, but like everything shut down, rights canceled. So I was just home alone for a while, just hanging out by myself. And yeah. I'm like so used to snow. I'm like, I don't want to go out there and play with it. I came to the South.
Right, exactly. And here it's funny because it snows. We'll get like 5-6 inches of snow overnight, and then by 2 p.m. it's all gone because we get so much sunshine. And so with the altitude, it's just gone. It doesn't stay in the grass for very long.
I love it. The best of both worlds, as Hannah Montana would say.
Exactly. So being Canadian, I would love to go back to, we've had multiple amazing, we are like starting a new fan club that every Canadian female country artist should be a massive hit on country radio, because the way that y'all write, the way your guys' vocals are amazing. We've had Shantae on the show. We've had multiple others, and we just love everything that you Canadian ladies are doing. But how in the world do you get from Ontario to Nashville?
Man, my journey was, I got a record deal, and then they helped me get a visa, and that was my journey. So it was smoother, I think, than a lot of people's, because I feel like people come down here without a record deal or without making a name, and then they make their name down here. So I think I lucked out in how I got down here for sure, but it was still rocky because it was during COVID. So all of those regulations and travel restrictions, it was wild. But I'm here. It's all about the climb.
What got you into country music? I mean, it sounds kind of different when you talk to someone normal. They're like, yeah, so-and-so's from Canada that likes country music. You don't really envision that when you're raised up in Canada from an American standpoint, I guess.
Yeah, Americans don't think we have tractors and cows. That's crazy. But we have farms too. We live in the country too. We got a big old country up there. And I was raised on country radio. My dad really likes country music. So ever since I was a kid, I was listening to country music. And I mean, I love pop too, but I mean, your parents picked the radio station. So I definitely grew up on country, and I'm obsessed with country. So
who are those big country influences you had growing up, getting you into music?
Yeah, there was Shania Twain, Diamond Rio, Keith Urban, Blake Shelton, Faith Hill, Tim McGraw. All those heavy hitters from the 90s were my bread and butter. Sorry, my foster dog is scratching at her door. So if you hear a big honk, honk, it's my dog. Okay.
We're used to it. We love dogs on the podcast. I don't know what it is. Everybody has a dog. Kyle Clark's dog has been featured on the show. I think I'm trying to think of who else. Yeah, Waylon's been featured on the show. I'm trying to think of who else. Shay Lynn's dogs have been on the show before.
Hunter?
Yeah, we've seen Hunter's. Dog. Oh, just so cute.
This is Alou. She's my bread and butter. She's my perfect lady. I'm going to put her in the room. And then I also foster dogs. So I have a pregnant dog. Well, she was pregnant, and then she had puppies. So now I have 9 puppies and a giant pit bull who really wants to go outside. So hope this is okay. I'm just walking my dog outside on the pod.
All good.
You know how we do?
Yeah, Waylon was scratching at the door. Then he came in and laid on the bed, and then he left, and then he came back, and then he was like, can we go outside? And Kyle's like, can you just let me do what I'm doing? So we're used to it. Don't worry.
Can you let me work so that I
Exactly.
can pay for your treats? Okay?
Exactly.
That's what I always say to my dog. I said, do you want a backyard, Lou? Do you want one? Okay,
Yeah.
then shush.
Yeah. Do you not want to live in an
always
apartment?
do it.
That would be great.
Yeah. Can you just relax for a second?
I love it.
So
We're big dog
Anyway,
people
we're back.
here on the pod, so don't worry. Not one bit. We love the doggos. I will pet every dog ever. Like, if anybody will let me pet their dog, I'll pet their dog. That's just kind of my thing.
same. And I bring a Lou to my co-writes. She just sits there and sometimes whines when she wants to do something, but she's pretty chill. So I'm lucky.
Now you just need to sneak her into a song. That's the next trick.
I know. I did write a song about her called If My Dog Doesn't Like You, or If My Dog Don't Like You. And it's basically like, it doesn't matter about my dad's opinion or my friend's opinion or my mom's opinion. Like, when it comes down to it, if my dog doesn't like you, it's never going to work.
That's
She's
it.
my best friend.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
That might be the best concept I've heard in a while.
I was like, what is it? If my dog don't like you, this ain't ever gonna work. She's good at like digging up skeletons and likes digging in the dirt or something.
Yep, that's
Something along
it.
those lines. And now they're all barking.
That's genius.
Yep, we got it.
perfect.
I can't wait to hear that one. That's gonna be one of those
Thank you.
leaked demos at some point.
Yeah, I should leak that one for sure. It's a funny one.
I love it. So when you decided that country music was your thing, how in the world do you end up with a record deal? I know that Sony Music is big in Canada. I know that country radio is big in Canada, but how do you end up working through that? Because I know a lot of people, they come to Nashville, they do the writer thing, they do the networking, and then they get a deal. How do you get a deal in Canada? Like, is it different? The process a little bit different?
Well, I actually got signed to a label down here in Nashville. So I was never signed in Canada. Everyone overlooked me. Shout out. Love you. We're all friends now. But they had no idea who I was in Canada. I got found in America because of TikTok and the whole internet thing. And I'm now independent again. But I guess I just put my head down and put my music out and did what I wanted to do. And somebody heard it and somebody liked it. And they signed me. And that's like so rare. And I know how insane it is. And yeah, I'm really lucky. Both dogs are barking. This is just a world of beauty. Sorry, I'll stop bringing up my dog.
We know how it goes.
But they're yelling. Can you not yell? Thank you. So yeah, I don't know how to get a record deal in Canada, but that was how I did get my United States record deal, which is kind of cool for a Canadian.
And am I getting this right? You were writing songs at the age of 13?
I was. So I don't know where I got it from because neither of my parents sing or do music. We're very like mathematical, sciencey people. And I just loved songs and music and singing, and I loved Hannah Montana. And I remember in my 13-year-old brain, I was like, I want a song about chasing your dreams and this and that. And the radio's filled with so many love songs that I was like, I have to write it. I have to make it because nobody else has it. So if I want to hear it, I have to write it. And then so I just started writing music on like trying to teach myself guitar on my grandpa's guitar and knowing nothing. And then my parents got me lessons when I was 14 because I was like, Taylor Swift has a guitar. And if Taylor Swift has a guitar, I need a guitar if I want to be a songwriter. So I learned enough chords to write songs, and I never stopped. And I was obsessed.
So when you're writing in Canada pre-record deal, are you writing mostly by yourself, or do you have a community up there of people who are trying to chase the dream just like you are?
I am from a small town, so when I started writing, I had nobody to write with, and I wrote a lot alone, which I think is really special, and I'm really thankful for the ability to write solo. And then I started meeting people as I was putting out music, and I met my friend Chris Barkley, who wrote a lot of my first EP with me, and then a lot of my second EP, like F-150 and Trust Issues, was a lot of solo writing, just because where I live in Canada, it's like an hour or two if I wanted to do a co-write, like a drive. And you don't want to drive an hour or two all the time. So So now being in Nashville and like a Wright's 20 minutes away, I'm like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it's magical. But no, I wrote a lot alone. And then I didn't even consider the artist thing. And I was like, well, if anybody's going to hear my songs, I'm going to have to cut them myself so that people hear them. And then that's how I became an artist, was just me trying to get my songs heard by people who could cut them.
Who are you writing with in Nashville in that first kind of few weeks, that first month? Who are you getting in rooms with?
When I got signed, the first room that I got put in was Parker Welling and Josh Kerr. And I had been the biggest Josh Kerr fan for so long.
I am
Parker
as well.
Welling has written like all of Russell Dickerson's big hits, like Yours and stuff. So that was absolutely crazy. And then another big room that I got put in was Jimmy Robbins and Nicole Gallion. And Nicole Gallion was one of my like dream writes. So that was insane. And then my friend Emily Reed, who is a fellow Canadian, I was like, I would listen to her demos all the time, loved her music. And I always told myself, if you ever have the chance to meet this girl, you would be best friends. She's your soul sister and you know it. And she DM'd me when my third EP came out and she said, I love what you do and I'd love to write with you. And I was just like, ah! So that was a big one for me. And we still write a lot together and I'm very thankful.
Was there anybody that when you saw them pop up in your calendar, you know, you had those big ones in the beginning, but was there anybody else that when it popped up on your calendar, you were like, oh my gosh?
Let me think. I mean, Nicole Gallion was definitely the biggest one that I flipped out on. And I'm trying to think, it was like 3 years ago, so everything's a blur. But I got like I remember I had like a list of people I really wanted to write with. And I should bring it up. There's still someone I really want to write with who I haven't yet, which is Emily Weisband. And I hope one day I can get in a room with her. But no, I can't remember at this point. Everything's a blur.
What was your first thoughts when you first got to Nashville? Was it exactly what you expected or kind of envisioned? Or you get there and it's like, this is opposite?
I had been to Nashville as a tourist with my mom when I was 21. And then I went with my friend Leah Daniels, who is a Canadian artist, when I was probably 22 or 23. And I remember the first time I went with my mom, I was like, this place is electric. We stayed in a hostel right off Broadway. And I'd go to Broadway every night. And from a small town, you don't get bars with bands and music and woo every night. So I was like, this place is a playground and I'm obsessed. So I loved it then. And then when I came with my friend Leah, we stayed in East Nashville and I like would drive her to all her writing sessions and recording sessions. So I went to like Universal Music Publishing with her. And Sam Ellis was like, Dan and Shay's writing in the room next to you. And I was just like, this is insane. And I remember we left Nashville at like 9 p.m. to drive back to Canada. And I was looking at the skyline and I was driving. And you know when you just have like a feeling in your body? I was like, this is not the last time I will see this city. This is an amazing, like, I just felt so drawn to Nashville. So then when I got here as an artist, I mean, I was pretty overwhelmed because COVID was very stressful. And I had just got signed to like a major label in the States and I was fighting imposter syndrome, trying to save my life. And I just remember being like, this place is so magical and I never want to leave. That's how I felt. I never want to leave.
We joke all the time that every time we come to Nashville 4 or 5 times a year, every single time our flight out gets delayed. And we joke about it all the time. We're always like, why does Nashville always delay our flight? Like every time we're trying to leave, Nashville delays our flight. I think they just want us to stay. Every time.
They just want you to stay. It's like a casino.
It is.
They just never want you to leave. They just cancel everything. Doors are locked. You don't know what day it is. What day is it? I don't know. Guess we're staying.
That's exactly how I feel every time. And then I walk out and I'm like, oh, I remember why we are here only 4 or 5 times a year, because every time it ends up at Red Door at 2:45 and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why we don't live here. I remember now.
Yeah. Learning how not to go to Red Door all the time is something I'm still trying to do.
And the night at Red Door, it's like
Ubers cost too much money.
True. That's so true. So I remember
can't go every night.
Exactly. I remember the first time I heard F-150, and I think it was going for ads, and somebody had sent it to me, and I heard it, and I was like, I've needed this. It was before all the truck songs, before we got New Truck, and I was like, this is the next great female. Like, I had came up through the Kelsey times. I came up through Carly was like getting big on country radio at the time. And I was like, this is the song. And then I saw the video. And when y'all blew up the truck, I was like, hell yeah. What was the writing process like for F-150? And then what was it like knowing like this is going to be my single? It's going to country radio tour, whatever it was during that time, because it was so much different than everybody else. Break us down through that whole process.
So writing the song, it's a true story. My ex at the time drove an F-150, and we lived in a small town. And the likelihood of seeing him was very high. And everybody drives an F-150 in Uxbridge, apparently. And I remember driving down, it's called Davis Drive, which is on my way home. And I saw an F-150, and I said to myself, then I see an F-150. Like, it just came to me. And then something 45. And that melody just stuck, and I went into my bathroom, and I sat with my guitar, because my bathroom was my writing room at my parents' house. And I wrote the chorus, and then I was like, now I have to write verses that are equally as good as this chorus, or the song's gonna flop. You know, the stress that comes with like, this is really good, don't mess it up. And then I wrote the verses, and that's kind of how the song came along. And then in the producing room, my producers wanted me to rewrite the last chorus, so it becomes happier or more hopeful. So that was crazy. And then it came out in February 2020. Then the world shut down. And then my neighbor was like, people put their music on TikTok. And I was just doing lip syncing random things on TikTok, like comedy videos. And so I put it up there. And 6 months after I released the song, it went viral, which was just crazy. And then it was just like a gigantic avalanche of opportunities coming at me. And it was really confusing, and I got a therapist, and I got a lawyer, and I held on for dear life. And then, we went with Warner Music Nashville, and then they sent it to radio in January, and then I was on a radio tour, but there was a lot of restrictions because of COVID. So it was just like this crazy wild ride, and I think it got to 59 on Billboard in the US. And it was on the US viral chart at like number 3, and which was shocking for a country song to be that high on the viral chart. And I was just like, this is absolutely insane. But I don't remember much because it was such a blur, and I was holding on for dear life. Because when all that happens at once, you're just like, please let me be able to ski down this avalanche.
I remember,
as a Canadian would say.
I remember hearing it on the radio for the first time at our station, and I was like, there's something about, it's like studio speakers where they've just been in there for 30 years and they've got, coffee and cigarette smoke, and there's just something about the way they sound. And I remember hearing it on the radio for the first time going, that is a smash, and the production is phenomenal. And then not watching it go, I was like, how is this not, like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we not playing the game? Was that frustrating for you?
It was frustrating, but I was also like, this is farther than I ever thought I could go ever. And I think it was a hard time because, again, COVID, a lot of stations were playing recurrent music. They weren't trying to really break new artists at the time. They were trying to keep people happy, especially when everything was scary. So that was hard, but definitely in Denver is where it did. Geez, these dogs. Testing? It tested really well in Denver, and it got played like crazy there, and it was insane. And do I wish the song went farther? 100%. Am I so happy that it got me to Nashville and got me all these opportunities and opened doors that I didn't even know could open? I'm very grateful for that. I try to look at the positive.
Well, we all know COVID is stupid and we all hated it. Was there ever a point where it kind of, I mean, it slowed music down. It slowed everyone down. Did you ever get to a point it's like, well, maybe I have to slow down. Maybe I'm not going to get to where I need to be. Did you ever have any regrets with it because of COVID?
No, because I also think it probably never would have done what it did without COVID. I wouldn't have had enough time to be marketing it online. I would have been working my job. But in Canada, you got laid off and then the government paid you to stay home, like EI or something. So I don't know if I ever would have gotten these opportunities if I wasn't forced to stay home and like be on social media and market it and do my best. So it's such a catch-22 because I'm like, yes, it slowed down everything and I missed so many opportunities. Like I feel like when it skyrocketed, if COVID wasn't here, I would have gotten booked on a bunch of festivals. I might have gotten on a tour with the success that was around it. But because the success came and almost went in COVID, that I lost those opportunities. But again, I don't know if I would have even had any opportunity if it wasn't for the world shutting down.
Well,
it's like catch-22.
Because you mentioned TikTok. I feel like everyone kind of learned about TikTok during COVID. It's kind of a cheat code, no?
It was the independent artist way to a career, hands down. And it was kind of luck of the draw, but also right timing. And I always say everything is 10% luck, 90% preparedness. So I feel like I was prepared and I had the music and I had the brand and I just needed that 10% of luck that I was very lucky to get through TikTok.
Did you have like a shock when it was time to put together a live show and go play those first few songs once you were in town?
It was such a shock. But like I had been doing bar circuits in Canada. I would go in restaurants and play with my acoustic in the corner for 3 hours. And I'd have my live band shows where you do cover band shows. So I at least had a little bit of performing experience. It wasn't like I had nothing. Thank goodness. I cannot imagine trying to learn how to do a live show in front of a lot of people, but this was my first time doing like a structured live show where I had my click track and I had tracks made and everything. So that was so scary to learn in front of people, but you don't get where you're going if you stay in the comfort zone. So I definitely learned very quickly. I cried a few times and that's okay.
Do you have any favorite tour memories from the beginning of, you know, if you guys were 12 passenger van in it or Yukon in it, like any favorite venues from those early days?
So I didn't go much outside of the GTA, like Toronto, when I was doing those before the early days, but now touring after I was signed, I was still in a 12-seater van with a U-Haul in the back. When I toured with Shania, we rented an RV, which was so fun because I'd get a lobby call and then I'd come out to the RV and there's like one bunk above the driver and everything else was like the back wasn't a bedroom. It was like a load-in dock. So like all our gear was in the back, but we had a bathroom and we had couches, table, and then like a bed on top. So I would just wake up and crawl into the bed and go right back to sleep because I love sleep. And that was probably my favorite tour memory. And then we all just got to hang out in the RV and it wasn't stressful. It was just fun.
I remember I was in a rock band and we, our lead singer's dad built bunks, quote unquote bunks, over the queen bed in the back. And really what they were was 2x4s and some plywood that were just kind of like drilled into the ground.
Yep.
And so every turn you'd take, it would slide. So there's 2 underneath and 2 up top, and the thing, it would like shift a little bit. And the first drive, yeah, exactly. The first drive we did, I slept on the top bunk one time and I was like, there's no chance I'll sleep in the living room in our RV every day for all I care at this point. There's no way I'm sleeping on those.
That is so fun. But
RV hangs though, exactly. RV hangs are so much different. Like a bus hang is a really good time, but an RV hang, you really get to know your people real quick.
Yeah, Buses are fancy, fancy. RV, that's where you know somebody.
Exactly.
What was it like touring with Shania?
It was pretty crazy. Big arenas. My first time in arenas. Way more rules that I had not learned playing in clubs. So I think it was, again, a process where I had to learn really quick. And it was just insane, though, to experience it all and like learn it all. And I love locker rooms. I'm a big locker room girly at this point. And just playing to a crowd like that is insane. Shania has amazing fans.
Did she give you any advice while you were when you met her and stuff like that?
I met her for a very small, brief moment. So I did not get any advice, but I feel like I watched her most nights, and just to like watch her and how she interacts with the crowd and all the work she does, like she's so busy because she's on TikTok and she's doing VIPs and traveling from city to city. So just kind of watching how she does it all and how she protects herself and her needs is, it's a great learning experience.
One thing that I love about your songwriting is that you're kind of like no holds bar. Like it feels like nothing is off limits and you don't really give a shit what people think. You're going to say what you want. And I remember hearing Trust Issues for the first time and I was like, yeah, that's a song that I think any female, even guys, wish we all would have written and had the balls to write. How does that come about? And then did you care what the reception was once you put it out?
I didn't even want to put that song out, to be honest with you. That was a solo write, and my managers loved the song. And I was like, I don't know about this one. And they were like, no, it's so good. Trust us. And so I put it out. And yeah, when I'm writing songs, I don't really picture putting them out into the world. I just write the song because it needs to be written, or that's what my head is saying. So if I want my head to shut up, I have to put it on paper and then I'll send it to the managers, and I don't really think about it. Or at least that's how I used to write, and I should kind of get back to that. But yeah, I remember just writing it and being like, whatever, it is what it is. And then they were like, this is insane, this is so vulnerable. And I'm like, is it? Oh my God. I didn't know, I was just writing. Turns out it's a vulnerable song. My bad.
Have you written a song and they're like, the label's like, nah, we don't really like this one, we want to go with this. You're like, no, we have to put this one out. Have you convinced them at all on a certain song?
The label, they let me put out Sincerely Drunk Me, which is like a crazy song. And they were like, you do you. They really trusted me. And I didn't have to fight them too hard at the start. And then eventually I feel like they kept putting the bar somewhere that I didn't know where it was. And I think I kind of lost myself in trying to please other people, which is why I'm saying I should get back to not caring what I write and just write whatever I feel. But no, I didn't have to fight them too hard at the start. And then by the end, yeah, I don't know what they were looking for.
I feel like,
which is okay.
I feel like it's cool though to see what somebody who came through the TikTok world, the self brand, what everybody is doing on their own. Somebody like Kyle Clark, who's a friend of the podcast, just an absolute phenomenal human, a phenomenal writer, phenomenal producer. Like, he does a great job, and it's cool because there's no restrictions. So you're able to do stuff like that. Is that something you're super excited about, just doing your own thing now?
So excited. Like, I put out a song called Sick of Sex, and nobody could tell me no, which is like, I think my most vulnerable song ever. And it says the word sex in it. Oh no, she's a country artist who said sex. And I didn't have to get anybody's permission. And I wrote that song after becoming independent again. It was a week after I became independent, actually, I wrote that song. And I just remember being like, this is the best song I've ever written. I love this song with my whole heart, and I'm putting it out, and no one can tell me no. And that was a beautiful feeling.
What was that writing process like? Because you're right. That's a song that if you submitted it to a label, I feel like there would have been a little pushback. But when I heard it, my thought was, I'm not 100% sure if I know anybody else in country that could do this and get away with it in such a legit way, just because of the other stuff that you've put out that is just super vulnerable. And I mean, the lyric, your writing is different than a lot of people in Nashville. Let's be honest. Like, the way that you write is special. So when you did Sick of Sex, were you like, maybe I'll tuck this one away for a second? Or was it immediate? Like, this was on my heart. I wrote it. This is going now.
Basically, yeah. I wrote it in March with Emily Reed, and I had flown to LA to write with her. And this was 2 weeks after getting dropped and 1 week after going through a breakup with a 3-year relationship. So I flew there and we wrote 4 songs. And this last day in LA, my flight was I had to be at the airport for 9 p.m. And I just kind of planned on watching Netflix all day at Emily's after checking out of my hostel. And she had another write, but then she came downstairs and says, "We have one more in us, Robyn. Come upstairs." And I sat in her studio and I was like, what do we write? And then earlier that week I had said, I'm just so sick of sex. And I wrote it down because I was like, that's a cool title. And at the point of my life, I was just like, I'm so sick of like this expectation that I feel. Maybe I put it on myself. Maybe other people are putting it on me, but hiding it really well. And I was like, I'm just so sick of feeling like an object, or that there's only one thing that people want, or I have to give my body in order for somebody to love me. And then I said, lay down some piano, give me like a JP sax vibe. And then she said, you go pour yourself a vodka soda and come back up and we're gonna write this. So I run down to the kitchen because I love a vodka soda when I'm writing. It's at least when I'm writing with M, I love a vodka soda. So I'm pouring it, and like all these lyrics for the chorus just I'm pouring the vodka as the lyrics are coming out. And I remember being like, whatever the first line is, I'm sick of sex, I don't want to let another person I might learn to like into my bed. Like, that just came into my head, and I screamed from the kitchen, I got it! And I ran back up and we wrote the chorus in like maybe 5 minutes, and it just fell out of us. And when I write, I kind of just word vomit and put so many thoughts down, and then I tweak it to make it fit. And then it was one of those things like, this chorus is so good, we can't mess up the verses. And I love pop music, and I feel like I really leaned into my pop inspirations for that one. And then I just wanted to use big words like contemplating why I hate it. And I just wanted it to be so conversational, and it was magic. And I remember just lying on her studio floor being like, ah! It was like a therapy appointment. And I just couldn't believe I wrote that song. I listened to it like over and over and over again on the plane flight back home.
Have you thought that, on accident, you've become just kind of a spokesperson for what, maybe mid-20s, early 30s females are thinking right now, just in this crazy world?
I always say I'm not special. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, I am a human being who has experiences that are not unique to me. They're like, everybody experiences what I experienced to some extent. And I think that's such a gift to be average, because as a songwriter, I can relate to so many people. So I'm writing my experience for me. It's what I'm going through, and I'm not doing it for anybody else. And then kind of what you said, it's just like, but by doing that, I become a spokesperson for people, whether I chose to or not. But at the end of the day, I write the songs for me because I need it, but I'm not special and I'm not unique. I'm just an average human, and thus it connects. And I think I'm very lucky to be average.
Well, I want to say on your
And I'm also like, another thing I say when people are like, oh, aren't you scared to swim in the ocean? Like, aren't you scared you're gonna get eaten by a shark? Which sharks don't eat people. But I'm like, I'm not that special. Like, I'm not special enough to get eaten by a shark. Like, it's not gonna be me.
I'm not Bethany
You know?
Hamilton.
Like,
Come on.
are you kidding me? It's gonna be somebody way cooler than me. Way cooler than me who's gonna like take that and run and be famous for it. But that's not what that's not gonna be me. I'm not special. So it's a little joke I have with myself.
I want to stay on your new EP that you just put out, a couple weeks ago, I think it was. And I Kissed Your Boyfriend, that song. Tell us about how that one came together, because that was one of my favorites. Okay.
I actually didn't write that one, but it was an Emily Reed, right? She wrote it with Jacob Durrett. And back in the day when I was obsessed with Emily Reed, I would go on SoundCloud and listen to all of her demos. And that's how I knew that we were meant to be. We were meant to be songwriting sisters. And I loved that song, and it always made me cry and send shivers up my spine. And my manager was like, maybe now's the time you do an outside cut. And I think as a writer, I know a song that I love when I hear it. And that song has just been in my heart for like 6 years. And I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it. And clearly you like it. See, I'm not crazy. I can A&R. I'm good at this.
Is it kind of harder for younger artists to take outside cuts, or is it more like, no, I want to do only my own songs? What's that all about?
So I, as a songwriter, the whole reason I got into music was to be a songwriter. And my manager would always joke that I got a record deal because he said, you'd always say, I want a publishing deal. And I would never bring up a record deal. I didn't even think about getting a record deal because I'm not Carrie Underwood. I'm not Gabby Barrett. I don't have this insane voice that just transcends space and time. So I'm always like, I just want to do my own songs. I'm writing songs so that I can put them out, and I don't want to do outside cuts. But there was something so special about that song. But going back to like, do you think younger artists only cut their own songs? I think when you write your song, it just fits your story better and more personally. But I also listen to a lot of podcasts, and I think it was Nicole Gallion who said, it takes a really good songwriter to know when to cut an outside song because you appreciate songwriting so much. And if you truly appreciate songwriting, you would do an outside cut because you want to showcase other songwriters. So I kind of leaned into that mentality. It takes a good songwriter to know when to do an outside cut.
We were texting this morning before we were both on the way to work, and he texted me. He's like, dude, I love this EP. And I was like, me too. And then he goes, she should do a duet with Kelsey. And I said, yes, but Elisa has to produce it. And his text me was, you read my mind. I
agree. I feel like we could make magic.
I love Elisa, friend of the podcast. Elisa's like the best. She's a friend of the show.
Put the bug in her ear.
I got you.
Put the bug in her ear. Say,
I got you.
This bitch, show her sick of sex, show her heartless, and be like, this bitch.
I'm going to text her right now.
And Kelsey, I'm just saying.
I'm going to text her right now.
Are you that close of friends?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to text her right now.
Oh, God. I'm nervous. She's probably going to be like, I hate that. I hate that girl.
I'm going to text her.
Sorry, my thing's... Okay.
We do this every once in a while.
Think about it. This girl's insane.
We love doing this.
You do it every once in a while? Just
every once in a while, we're like we were talking about Dan and Shay being on The Voice, and we were like, what are they going to do? Have like a sofa? And we joked about it, and then I was like, you know what? Let's just ask Dan. Let's just ask Dan. It's easier that way. It makes it more fun. The show is fun. We can do stuff like that.
Yeah, are you guys going to have a love seat? Are you going to sit on each other's laps? Like, what's the tea?
The answer is it's a love seat because he told me.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah, those two on a love seat. And I think it comes out like in a couple weeks, so which I'm kind of excited about. I just texted Lisa.
The crazy thing is they would have to decide together.
And that's what we were talking about.
Or maybe if one of them likes it, the person just hits the button and the other one has no say in the game. And they'll turn around and Dan will be like, I love what you do. And Shay will be like, I didn't pick you, but he did. So now I'm here. So like, I don't know. It might get awkward. It might get spicy. Who knows?
I'm really excited. I don't know if those two can fight it out anymore. I think that they're way too good of friends now. If we were talking 8 months ago, we might be in for a different treat of Dan and Shay.
Yeah. Maybe this was like
Oh, go ahead.
some kind of therapy for them.
Right. Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking. When we have Dan on the show, we'll have to ask him all about that.
Yes.
Because it's going to be really, really entertaining. The Lisa thing, though, like, there's something about like the way that your songs are that I immediately was like, man, I could see y'all doing something like Rolling Up the Welcome Mat that's just different, that just blows people's mind. Is there anybody else in town that you're like, I would love to write with or have that person produce a single for me?
Oh, man. Elisa's really high up there. And then the guy who produced my EP, Cameron James, was on my list. So I feel like I lucked out with that. And he does Jordan Shellhart, who's just insane writer. Elisa, I feel like doing a female would be crazy. And Emily, I mean, who I write all my songs with, Emily, I feel like I gotta find, you know what, that's gonna be my homework. Who would I want to produce my next thing and just make something insane with that no one sees coming?
Which would be awesome. It would be, it's kind of like the Kelsey thing. Like, I mean, we were all used to the Kelsey and Josh doing their stuff. And then when Kelsey moved on and was doing all the other big Kelsey stuff. But when she came out with this stuff with Elisa, I think all of us were like, oh, I think that's the lane. And I don't think we expected it. I think that it would be awesome to see that because of the vulnerability in your music and the way that she produces could be a murderer's row of singles.
Magic. Well, and I just love what they did. I feel like nobody writes that honest lately. I found I haven't been inspired in a long time, and Rolling Up the Welcome Mat, I was like, thank God someone had the guts to do that, because we're all out here listening to songs that don't get me revved up. And that EP came out, and I was just like, yeah, hell yeah. And I watched like the whole short film. I watched her Call Her Daddy episode, and I was just like, thank God someone has balls. Thank God this woman has balls still.
Who out
I just
there?
think it transcended her.
Okay, we know who you kind of want to produce with. Let's give us some writers. The dream write that you wish you could have.
Okay, so if I am not thinking of myself as an artist, I would die to write for Hailey Whitters, Lacey K. Booth, Carter Faith, who's my friend. Maybe she'd write with me. She's just insane. And I'd love a Casey Musgraves or a Maren Morris cut. If I could write with any of those four, or Sam Hunt, I'll throw a man in there. Sam Hunt would be insane. Yeah, I want to write with them.
If somebody comes to you and says, hey, I heard Sam's cutting, would you get into a room and try to bust out the next Sam single? Who, 100%. if you had no problem calling anybody in town, big dreams, big people, who are three people that you're like, yes, if I can get their number from anybody, I'm calling those people because I want a smash?
So if it's for Sam Hunt, I would call up Walker Hayes, who I have his number. He's great. I wrote 2 songs with him, and he's really nice to me. And he's like, wow, you have such original concepts. And I was like, thank you so much. Because he's just one of my favorite writers. And I think, I know Sam likes writing with Shane McAnally, and I've never written with him before. So I think I would want to call him up. And then I'd probably want to call Emily Weisband.
That would be a pretty dang good room.
I like it.
I also like that you're the first person in a while that didn't say Ashley Gorley, Ben Johnson, or Hunter Phelps, who are all friends of the podcast. Well, Ashley's
I've written with Hunter Phelps before.
Hunter's a good friend of the podcast. Ben's also a friend. We met Ashley for the first time at the Covenant fundraiser that Big Loud did. We were part of that, and we met Ashley for the first time, and that was like for a songwriter podcast, that was pretty special. You know, didn't really know what to say and or do, which being radio guys, we don't get starstruck very much, but I can tell you right now that Kev was like, yo, you have to say something. And I was like, I don't know what to say.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
My favorite.
Just do an impression of somebody. Just do like a Sid the Sloth impression.
He's so different though. Do you have anybody that you've been around?
Never met him.
You've never met him? So Ashley brings a vibe to the room that like you could cut it with a knife.
One of those people?
It's just, he walked in, we're all at the local, and what was crazy though is it's like Ben Williams, Jimmy Robbins, and
was it Hackworth?
No, I can't remember who the other one was. And they're all playing, and I'm like, these guys have, Rodney Clausen. So Rodney Clausen's playing American Kids, and Ashley Gorley walks in, and the room just, the vibe changes. He's like, he's here. And then after he walks up to Ben Williams, he's like, hey, Ben, what should I play tonight? And Ben's like, dude, you have 70 number ones. You can play whatever you want. He goes, I think I might play Tennessee Orange.
He wrote Tennessee Orange?
Ben did. But he was like taking a shot at Ben Williams. Yeah. No, he was taking a shot towards Ben Williams. Like, oh, of all the songs, I should play Tennessee Orange. That'd be funny.
I'm just going to play your number one.
Exactly. There's something different about Ashley. But he's like the nicest guy too, which is wild.
Okay. Maybe one day he'll walk into a room and I'll know.
Oh, you'll know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll know. Is there anything that you're working on right now that you're super, super excited about? That you're like, I cannot wait for this to come out.
I mean, I just put out the EP, so I don't know when the next songs are gonna come out, but I do have one or two in the chamber that I've loved for a long time that I'm surprised I haven't put out yet. It's called, but I'm also like at that point where I'm like, I kind of want to pitch it and see if somebody iconic does it. Just because it's so well written. It's a song called Better Not to Know. It's written with Lydia Vaughn and Kyle Sturrock. And Lydia came in with this idea and it was just insane. And it's the most beautiful song and I love it so much. But I'm also like, what if someone could take it farther than I take it, you know? And I love my song so much. So we'll see. We'll see what I do in the future. But I think this year I'm really gonna focus on writing for other people because I just love writing, you know? And it takes pressure off when it's not like, has to fit a brand, has to fit this. It's just like, I'm just gonna write really good songs and hope someone likes them enough to cut them.
Before we let you go, I have to ask, is there a song maybe that you've put out or haven't put out that you will never, ever, ever forget the day that you wrote it? Or like the concept came in the room and you were like, yes, that's it.
It's Sick of Sex for me. I'll never believe that I wrote that song. I think something possessed my body when I wrote that song. I'm trying to think of another one just so I don't have that answer. This is my thinking song. There is a song that I hope somebody else cuts that I wrote with Jimmy Robbins and Nicole Gallion, and it's called Mamas Ain't Always Right. And I would love for somebody to cut that song.
Who would you pitch it to?
And we haven't pitched it to anybody.
Like, who would you, if you got to just say, I want to send it to this person and this person, who would be on the top of your list?
I think Maddie and Tay could knock the song out of the park. Mamas Ain't Always Right. I think they could just crush it to death. It would be amazing. If I had to pick another female, who would it be? Mamas ain't always right. I don't know. Maybe Haley Witters?
I think that would work. I think it would work.
I can see that.
I'm a big Haley Witters guy. I'm a big fan. I'm really excited to see her this summer.
I'm a big Haley Witters guy too.
I love it. I
Haley Witters guy right
I love the song they did with my buddy Chris LaCourte, and I was like, Chris, that's a smash, dude. That's a smash.
Which one?
I'm trying to think. It was. Let me see. I'll have to look. He's gonna kill me for this.
It's not her new single, is it? There's I'm everything she is and everything she ain't. It's not that one, is it?
No, I'm in love.
Or
that was a Chris LaCourte.
I'm in love. That was the second one. She's in the job.
Yep.
And I'm in love. So her new single.
Yeah. Which is
like
funny.
Radio single.
I'm telling Chris, I'm like, dude, can you miss? Like, you're doing Swindell. You had multiple Sam smashes. Can you miss? Like, are you good? Can you not? Like,
have you tried sucking for once in your life?
Exactly. Jeez. It's like talking to Hunter.
Jeez.
Just can't miss.
Yeah. when I wrote with Hunter, it was in Hawaii. We were kind of doing like a songwriting thing in Hawaii. And then every night we would do a songwriting round. And it was Hunter Phelps, Corey Crowder, Brock Berryhill, me, and Devin Dawson. You try doing a writer's round with those men, okay? This was when F-150 was like still at its max. And I was just, everyone's like, so this is my number one with Kane Brown. This is my song with Hardy. This is my number one by myself. And I was like, this is a song that maybe you haven't heard yet. But I hope it goes number one day. And then Devin was so nice. He's like, this is a song that just hasn't gone number one yet, Robyn. And I was like, thanks, Devin. You really got my back.
As Hunter's
going, it was
going,
pretty nerve-wracking, yeah.
As Hunter goes, what's your name? What's your sign? What's your birthday? And everybody freaks out.
Yeah.
So
or he had, I was just thinking about that weekend out in Cumberland. He was playing that one. And I tried to sing Mackenzie's part, but I did not know it well enough at the time, and I kind of butchered it. And he didn't mind. He's a very nice guy.
I love that everybody thinks that song's about a girl, but really his grandma was the one who called him. He was talking about it on our show last year. His grandma called him. She goes, I was just thinking about you.
That's precious.
Yep. That was a great story.
And then
he
Mackenzie
told.
Porter, fellow Canadian, sang it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So before we let you go, when everybody's looking for you, what are the couple of songs you're like, start here, get your toe in the water, and then where can people find you online?
Hi, my name is Robyn Ottolini. To dip the toe in, listen to F-150, then listen to Match for My Memory, then listen to Tell You Everything, and then listen to Sick of Sex. And you can find me at Robyn Ottolini on all social medias, and I just be out there doing things on social media.
We love it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know it was a busy day with a write. I hope you guys got a great one in today.
We got such a good one. It's called Fix Stupid.
Who'd you write with today?
I wrote with a guy named Lenny Pay and a guy named AJ Gaudio. And it was great. I have another song that dogs won't shut up. But I have another song that I think I'm going to try tackling right now that I came up with the concept during our write. And it's really good. So
a good old 100%er.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Might as well try.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining the show. And we really, really appreciate it. And you're welcome here anytime. We are massive fans of you.
Thank you so much. Tell your wife I say hey.